Am I the asshole for moving to avoid babysitting for my parents, which prompted my siblings to do the same? I'm 22M, the oldest brother of 9 siblings. I have 5 younger brothers and 3 sisters. My sister is 20 and my brother is 19. Youngest is 4 years old and my other siblings' ages range from 16 years to 7 years. My parents would have had way more kids, but my mom suffered from several miscarriages. Pretty much since I was 6 I had to take care of all my siblings. I could never go out because my parents were working and nobody to take care of my siblings. I love my siblings but I hated never having freedom. It used to annoy me like crazy that they would just pop one kid after another. Our house wasn't that big so everyone shared rooms, never had any private space. Parents made good money but because of so many kids they struggled financially. Years later I found out the reason why they had so many kids because they weren't using any protection at all. My mom said they didn't believe in using protection and any kids they had were because of God's will. If they didn't get pregnant, that was fine, if they did it was because that was God's plan. I was so mad since I was the one also stuck taking care of all these kids because they're too stubborn to use protection since it's against their beliefs. When my mom got pregnant again with my youngest sibling, I waited till my 18th and moved out that day. Made sure I moved far too, 1 hour away, so I had that excuse. When my sis turned 18 she begged me to let her live with me and I said yeah. My bro did too eventually. My sister has already moved out but he's still there with me while we continue our college classes. They saw that I limited contact with my parents to avoid getting stuck babysitting so they wanted out too. Now my younger bro who's 16 is spending more time at my place because he hates it at home. My parents are mad at me for dipping out on them since that's made my other siblings not wanna be responsible for the younger ones either. My dad told me they're hurt I turned my back on my family and have made my siblings do the same. 'Cause I'm the older one so I have the most influence on them and ever since I left they followed with the same attitude. A part of me does feel bad that they're having a hard time but at the same time I feel they brought that on themselves just thinking they can have however many kids and expecting us all to just live with their actions. Just wondering if I'm the asshole for how this all happened.
Not the asshole. Tell 'em it was God's plan. Not the asshole. You didn't choose to have all those kids. Your parents did. The younger children are their responsibility and not yours. End of story.
NTA, you didn't turn your back on your family. You are choosing to live your life and be a brother instead of a babysitter.
Not the asshole. They've been enormously irresponsible by leaving the odds of getting pregnant up to divine will, or rather their own biology, and relying on the older kids to look after the younger ones. But good on you for helping the ones who also want to get out of being a live-in babysitter. They have at least 10 children and probably will have more given their attitude towards protection. Does the Bible say anything about deadbeat parents?
Just come clean and admit you're a dugger kid. Not the asshole. No one can just drop a baby on my doorstep and expect me to raise it, yet that's what your parents basically did to you.
Not the asshole. Your parents are always responsible for their own children. If they can't take care of 7 kids they shouldn't have had another 7 kids. Tell them to pay a babysitter.
Not the asshole. Kids should help around the house a bit, not be turned into parents for their siblings. As an 18-year-old moving out, you only have responsibility for yourself. It wasn't your choice to have these kids, they aren't your responsibility to deal with. I think it's cool that you're looking out for your brother and sister, helping them to keep from being turned into parents. Moving out at 18 isn't abandoning your family, or whatever. This is ridiculous.
Not the asshole. You are not a free babysitter and you have the right to your own life. What your parents did to you was abusive.
Not the asshole. I would consider throwing around the line about God's will when they complain. You didn't get to have a say in how many kids they chose to have and they don't get a say in how much contact you want to have. Of course they were passive about caring how many children they had because they weren't the ones facing the consequences of their actions. You were. Now they are mad because they will have to parent or figure out how to hire a babysitter. This is a problem of their own doing and theirs to figure out a solution. Good on you for helping your siblings get out of the environment and to start standing on their own. Not all siblings would do that, and I think it is commendable.
Not the asshole. They gave birth to the children, so they should raise them. That was GD's plan for them. SMH.
Quiverfullers. Parentification for Jesus seems to be a common theme in those circles. Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. Suggest it was God's will that their children move away. Not the asshole. Your parents are irresponsible and forcing kids to play the role of parent like that is a form of abuse. Not the asshole. Not your kids and not your responsibility. I'm glad you were able to distance yourself from it because it's for the best.
Not the asshole. You're not the one who decided to have the kids. NTA. Yes, it's definitely your fault and not theirs that their children are all fleeing from them.
Not the asshole. Apparently it's God's will that your siblings have you as an example. I'm glad they had someone show them it's okay to refuse to be used by other people.
Not the asshole. What your parents did to you is called parentification, and it is a form of child abuse.
Not the asshole. Your parents are the ones responsible for taking care of the kids they created. If they don't have the time to do so themselves and can't afford to hire a babysitter, then they need to take active steps to stop having children. It's borderline abusive to the older kids to force them to sacrifice their childhoods in order to parent the younger ones because you don't believe in contraception.
Not the asshole. Close your legs if the outcome is not something you can handle. WTF.
Not the asshole. Just tell them that it was God's plan.
Not the asshole. You're their kid, not their co-parent.
If God wanted them to have that many kids, then God wants them to look after said kids. Parentification on your older children because you're too blinded by faith to consider contraception as child abuse. Plain and simple. Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. They should have wrote their sticks down and closed their legs.
Not the asshole sounds like for the first time they're having to deal with the consequences of having so many kids. Good for you for not only getting out of there but also letting your siblings join you when they ask.
Not the asshole. You should tell them that you loved the opportunity to take care of your 75 siblings 24/7, but when you turned 18 it was God's will that made you move out.
If they're not taking care of their very young kids properly, can you call child services or something like that? BCS. If both of them are working, a 16-year-old can't look after 5 kids who are under 15 years of age and one who is 4. Not the asshole. They shouldn't have kids if they can't actually parent them.
Not the asshole. I had 2 late-in-life kids when my oldest was 12 and 14. I very rarely ask her to babysit or be responsible for her siblings. They're my kids, not hers. Your parents owe you and your siblings the same courtesy.
Not the asshole. It was easy for your parents to keep having children when they didn't have to look after them. Now the tables have turned and they have to look after the younger ones, they are realizing how much work it is. I am glad that you and your siblings could move away and have some time to yourselves. Not the asshole. I get the guilt, but that doesn't make you wrong. You feel guilty because you are not an ass. You are right to move out and let your siblings live with you. It is what makes you happy and healthy. If anything, you are still helping your siblings by letting them live with you. Let your parents think on that. Not the asshole. Your parents are abusive. Parentification is abuse, and I'm so proud of you for standing up for yourself and was along and helping your other siblings get out and safe too. Also 6yo is still a baby. I have 4 kids. The oldest is 12 and the youngest is a baby, and the most I let my kids help out is playing with the baby or my 12yo holding for like 10 minutes if she's unsettled so I can cook dinner. Expecting a 6yo kid to look after their younger siblings is horrible, and I'm so sorry you didn't get to have a proper childhood.
Not the asshole. This is legitimate child abuse. It's called parentification, where the child takes on the role of the parent. I would have moved out too, and I'm glad you allowed your siblings to move into your place. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Watch your parents get on in a few years about how your other siblings don't have kids of your own because of this parentification, because they want grandbabies. Not the asshole. My friend was forced to be a third parent. It's called parentification and is a form of abuse. She wasn't even the oldest, she just wasn't the golden child. She would fight with her mom often about it, and moved out as soon as she could. When her mom would tell her watching her siblings is her responsibility, she would say, "They didn't come out of my vagina, so no, they are not." And I love that power move.
Not the asshole. Parentification, which is what they subjected you to, is abuse. You grew up with 12 years worth of abuse because it was God's plan. Now that their kids want nothing to do with them, it's God's plan for them to take care of their remaining 16 kids.
Not the arsehole. I literally can't stand people conceiving so many children and not take the responsibility to it. Children don't ask to be born. You literally came in this world to take up a parenting role. WTF. Your parents both should work lesser to be able to take care of their children. And if they can't afford to, they should ask themselves why they got so many children. Is overpopulation God's plan too? 'Cause this is how we get nuked by another asteroid. God gonna have enough.
Not the arsehole. If it is God's plan for them to have many children, it is also God's plan. For them to figure out how to raise and take care of them while their oldest kids strike out on their own. Did they honestly think you would all stay around and provide free babysitting until the last one is old enough to stay home alone?
Not the arsehole. If they didn't want you to have influence over your siblings, they shouldn't have left you to raise them. Not the arsehole. Your parents are dumb.
Go out and figure out what you want for your life, heart. Not the asshole at all. No one wants to be roped into caring for kids they didn't make themselves. Your parents are just very irresponsible and don't know how to parent on their own. They haven't had to since you were 6 years old, and they've had replacements until about now, I suppose. It's time they took responsibility for their own actions.
Info. Were you raised religiously? You're not the arsehole. You're an adult. You can do what you want, and they shouldn't have put that pressure on you and shouldn't continue to put that pressure on you. Kids moving out and not wanting to be home is on them, not you. Having more kids than you can afford is a form of child abuse if you ask me. You did the right thing by leaving. Your parents will be forced to pull their heads out of their ass, or CPS will get involved and they won't have any choices in the matter. Hopefully they stop at 9. Edit. Not the arsehole.
Someone should tell your mom it's a vagina, not a clown car.
Not the arsehole. They chose to have as many kids as humanly possible because it's God's will. Their choice. Their responsibility. I'm so sorry you had to basically raise your younger siblings and that some of them are now expected to do the same. Babysitting your siblings once in a while. Okay. But full-on parenting them? No.
Yikes, I have 4 younger siblings and it feels like a lot. Definitely not the arsehole. They aren't your kids. Good job on getting out and helping your siblings out.
Not the asshole. I have nothing against big families until the parents turn the older ones into fill-in parents for them. I'm not going to argue belief systems. To each his own. However, if you have all those kids, you better be prepared to care for them. You and your older siblings did the wise thing and got out of there.
Not the asshole. Not your kids, not your problem.